Episode number 30, Conscience, Spark Plugs, and Christ. For those listeners and viewers who do not know Rod Murphy, that is me, this episode explores my more thoughtful side. My growing up in a big, loving family as I did persuaded me that I, in turn, needed to pass on that love. So, to actually do that, following my conscience, I decided that I would stand up against the terrible U.S. Supreme Court decision called Roe v. Wade. In 1973, it shockingly made the killing of defenseless babies in their mother's womb legal. Therefore, since my early 20s, I have been involved politically, publicly, and in every other way in fighting for the right to life. That right is crucial to all the other rights in the American Constitution's Bill of Rights. It has been over 63 years now that I have given my time and effort to that battle. My wife and family, my Roman Catholic Church, and my entrepreneurial efforts came first, second, and third. After that, for me, it was saving unborn babies from abortion. How did I get so involved in the battle against abortion and the protection of preborn babies? Mother and Dad were instrumental in developing my horror at abortion from my youngest years. There were many conversations at home about abortion. It was thought of as the worst of all evils. Additionally, I saw my mother bringing home in tandem 4 of my sisters as newborns. They were such cute and helpless babies. To me, it was preposterous that the chopping up of such innocents as my sisters was okay. The nuns at the Blessed Sacrament School further reinforced my strong antipathy toward abortion. My thoughts on the First Amendment was even further enhanced by my Fernal School experience presented in episode number 46, in which handicapped children were treated worse than animals. Because politics was the basis of that decision to kill unborn babies, I became involved in politics. I have been an elected delegate to many Massachusetts GOP conventions, and twice I have been elected Massachusetts delegate to a national Republican convention, once as a Ronald Reagan delegate in 1976, and the other time as a Pat Buchanan delegate in 1996. Both were pro-life candidates. Since my early years as an active Republican, I battled the pro-abortion Massachusetts Yankee Protestant Rhino establishment. They held on to the GOP power with a death grip. I worked in my small way to take that power from them. They wanted to keep the elite country club grasp on party politics. Instead, I wanted to elect conservative, traditional values type candidates who were often working stiff Roman Catholics. I saw helpless unborn babies being betrayed by their own mothers and killed by so-called doctors right up to the 9th month. I had to try to defend them in every legal way. So I worked with others, like-minded folks, to help desperate pregnant mothers by setting up methods to save babies right at the abortion mill. I wrote a book on how to do that called Stopping Abortions at Death's Door. Also, as I described earlier, I tried to affect legislation by persuading at least one political party to be pro-life. Just after Roe v. Wade, January 22, 1973, the Democrats were more pro-life than the Republicans, but that did not last long. It soon became obvious that the pro-aborts and Planned Parenthood had become the puppet masters of the Massachusetts Democrat establishment. The Republicans nationally became nominally pro-life, but within the Massachusetts GOP, internecine warfare continues over abortion and other more traditional issues, even up to today. A friend once explained that party politics is like reaching into a barrel full of slimy, slithering eels and trying to grab a particular one. When I was 24, I was being enticed to join the Knights of Columbus or the Elks or the Junior Chamber of Commerce. I did consider some of those organizations, but decided to buckle down, make a good living, raise my growing family, and with whatever time I had left, I would defend preborn babies being jeopardized by abortion. So I joined the Massachusetts Citizens for Life, an anti-abortion newly formed organization. Even before the 1973 Supreme Court decision allowing abortions until the ninth month, I had always considered every candidate's stand on abortion when contributing money, voting for or otherwise supporting candidates' elections. I have been on the losing side more often than not because of my standard. I have won a few also. I believe that as the abolition of slavery movement took 60 years to abolish slavery, so it might take a long time to pass laws protecting unborn humans in utero. I will probably be dead and gone, but maybe my grandchildren will see the day when the Bill of Rights and the Declaration of Independence for all humans in America will become a fact. My 60-plus years of pro-life activity is my most reflective in my 43 years as the leader of Premier Massachusetts Free Pro-Life Pregnancy Center, Problem Pregnancy of Worcester, and also branching out and thereby saving babies geometrically. I have helped to start 11 other pro-life pregnancy centers all over the country. Because of my successful nonprofit experience, I am often invited to speak at Christian events and at pro-life groups. At those events, I am often asked to provide possible solutions to organization failures caused by a lack of competent fundraising or other structural deficiencies. My experience in business, along with my experience in running nonprofits, allows me to be helpful in offering advice to some folks with such difficult problems in running charitable organizations. My offered advice is always very positive and hopeful, using examples of how their situation could be improved. But later, I often discover that my advice did not provide the desired success. Why? Often, it was because a spark plug was missing. Not the kind in your Ford, but rather a real human go-getter. A friend of mine has an apt expression. Behind every successful organization, someone's in the back room doing all the work. That's the spark plug. I think every American needs to follow his own conscience and discover his own crying need or destructive thing that needs to be stopped. Become that go-getter. Each of us must work with whatever spare time we have to fix that crying need. My reason to be that spark plug was my conscience. It forced me to fight against the American genocide of millions of defenseless and unwanted unborn babies. It is beginning to get better in 2025, but just beginning. This is Rod Murphy. Thank you for viewing or listening to my podcast episodes. I really appreciate it. If you liked it, and if you so choose, I ask you to send a good review and refer a friend who might be interested in this old Boston podcast series. Again, my thanks.